How's it going, everyone out there? Max back again today, Sunday. I don't think I've stopped streaming since I've been back. I think I've literally went every day. Um, I had one day off. I didn't stream last Friday, and then I went to the because literally I was out of town. And then Saturday, I technically was on with DCC and the boys. That was pretty fun. Legendary stream I reposted on the channel. And then Sunday, I came back, and boy, there was some tweets. There was some tweets from the big guy. He was he was giving us some information, not a lot of new information, but a lot of I don't want to say explicit, because it's never really like do this thing. It's kind of like, here's what I think, and then the market reacted to that, and fun has ensued ever since. And so this is, I posted on Twitter, this is number 5, technically 6. I think I talked about it, and one other one too, but it's been mostly the HEX. It's not even debate. The HEX. See, I call it the sacrifice. I've been calling it that because I feel like that's the most well-rounded way of thinking about it as far as it goes. Had to be done, right? That's one theory at least. And again, there's been so much back and forth and going on. I wanted to make this stream. I've got a couple guests who I love streaming with, and we get to get into a lot of different philosophy and mindfulness and a whole bunch of other stuff that I think is really good to bring to the community in times of when people are confused or frustrated or otherwise. So I'm going to talk about current events and stuff, but also in a rationally optimistic way, which I think there's no better way to look at it, honestly. I don't know what else is more beneficial the way I look at it that way. And I think it's going to be a really good stream. I'm excited to bring these two ladies in to talk about it. And really, and again, you got questions, comments, put them in the chat, and we'll get it to few of those as well if we can. But I think it'll be, if you're out there and you're kind of confused, you're new to HEX, or you've been around for a while and you're frustrated, or you're just like, what is going on? What do I need to do? What is the way to think about this that is the most beneficial for me, the most interesting, the most, not the one that just gives you to just give up. Maybe it's okay. I mean, if you left the community or feel like doing that or whatever, I don't want to give you that. Okay, just tell me, give me a reason why. Give me a reason to do it. Like, it's not about that, but I really do believe there's more to this than that's available on the surface. So I want to dig into that, and also some ways just to frame, where we've been as a community, where it looks like we're going, for better, for worse, and just how do we keep winning, that sort of thing. Because I feel like I'm winning. I know a lot of people, I did a poll I'll bring it up later. A lot of people still feel like they're winning. It's just, sometimes we get kind of stuck in the mud and need a little bit of help. So anyways, without further ado, I'll get to chat in just a moment. I'm bringing in back to the show a Wild SJ and Whitney Magic. How's it going, ladies?
Great.
So lovely to be here. What a great space.
It's been such a long time. It's been at least 8 days.
It feels like eons to me.
It is interesting, like when you hang out and stuff in real life, and you got events or otherwise, and then you stream again. There is this like, oh, this is different. Like, it feels different. It feels like there wasn't this just saw you on all this stuff. It is interesting.
Yeah, but glad to be back. Always.
Yeah, and so maybe we'll start with that real quick too. Just as far as community and events and stuff go, I know SJ, Black Hex, and RG3, a bunch of people put on a really good gathering. I had a great seminar day, a bunch of different events. There's a highlight video and all that stuff too. How did that feel? We'll just start with SJ too. Like, how did it feel? Because Whitney was there, and I know she's got some stuff to add to it as far as like experience as an attendee versus person organizing it. How do you feel like the community right before the news dropped Sunday from Richard about all this other stuff? How did it feel just being together with everyone? How did it feel different than it normally felt?
A little. I think this, because this was the largest event that we've seen, at least that I've seen, because I know Black Hexagon, she was with the KSB team through that bull run tour when they did the KSB tour through the US. So she got to witness and be a part of a lot of the, big celebratory events that happened during that bull run. But that was before I got even into the community. So to have been through this bear market and see, having some events we had, we did seminars and meetups last year. Like we're doing more just seminars this year, but the meetups we had somewhere that was like less than 10 people showed up. So to go from just putting our all into these events last year and doing as much as we could to especially get outside of the community and bring people in who had never heard of the RH ecosystem at all, maybe had never even heard of crypto, to now seeing not just our community coming together, but people like Donovan Jolly of DIY Investing and Ben BitBoy, I guess we can call him BitBoy again, Armstrong, you know, and then having a few others coming from outside of the space in general. That to me is the most bullish feeling I've ever had, right? Like coin price, any of that aside, for me, I really gauge my involvement, I guess, and my not necessarily my happiness, but a lot of my, what's what I'm looking for? Like the productivity, basically, like my success, right? Like if I'm successful in seeing community building and people coming together and networking happening, that to me is a job well done. And finally, after this like year of just it being kind of grueling and, you know, hard to get people to come together, it's nice to see more than just the Hexagon community doing so. And other people, I was actually just talking to my my dad about this. I was like, hey, like it's exciting because he's, you know, outside of our sphere, doesn't really pay attention to a lot of this. So I was trying to convey to him how exciting it is to see other content creators from, you know, outside of our RH ecosystem coming into this and being a part of it and wanting to talk about it more, you know, regardless of anyone else's like sentiment about it. I find it to be enthralling. Like, I think it's great that we're finally getting the recognition for, you know, what Richard has done and what he's built and what he's building. So I'm stoked on life right now. And I'm definitely in disbelief. You know, that chart with like where the price is and all that, I'm in disbelief right now. I really am. And it's not because of, you know, anything to do with any of the coins. It's just where my life is at. And like knowing that we get to take this forward this year and travel the world, right? Bringing more people's attention to the PulseChain ecosystem is just, I couldn't ask for more in life. I'm so stoked to be a part of what we're building here.
It's like you see a brighter future, and it's like there's nothing there's nothing that can take it away, that sort of thing. It's like, no, this all makes sense and it's great, and like, why not be excited about it? I felt the same way, that way as well.
Yeah. And SJ, also your energy totally radiating as a leader and just as an organizer and everything, like so in your element. But also I feel like that's a really great reflection of like the health of our community as well, because you're interacting with so many different people at times. And it's like, that's actually a really great metric to be like, how's SJ doing? Like, how is she feeling with, how is the community nourishing her?
Yeah. Thank you.
The SJ barometer of like, are things good? Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen, I mean, I know obviously everyone has their ups and downs and stuff, but I've told SJ before, I think the brightness she brings and a lot of the people bring to this community is just, it makes it, even when things aren't going the way, or you feel, you know, you're struggling with whatever, it's just like when you see people who are happy, it's contagious. It's just like, wow, okay. Well, not everything's bad, right? Like something's going on. So I love the contagious aspect of that, and so many other things that you all bring as well. Definitely. So just scrolling through the chat here in a minute for a moment as well. A couple questions I'll get to in a minute. A couple funny ones, actually. I'll pull up this one because it's funny. Fast Abdul said, burn the Hex OA and build a Red Bull themed museum. Sir, that museum's still coming. It's on the list. We have I did a post about the things that RH has talked about but hasn't did yet, or hasn't built yet, for example, in this. And the museum, the centralized exchange, I thought he said he had a license for or applied for it or something. That happened a while back. And then he talked about the NFT. He said like he was going to do some like NFT platform on the last one too. So there's like subtle little things that don't get talked about a lot that are still, you know, Pulse, the wallet. He mentioned the wallet not too long ago as well. So there's little things, projects, buildings, physical and otherwise, that again, all the tricks up the sleeve that we talked about a million times. It's
nation state.
Hexaco. I didn't even slip my mind. The whole government deal. Yeah,
that's my favorite.
There you go, Hexaco. maybe we're seasteading one day, or maybe there's a piece of land that's acquired, and people can check that out. So this community is like nothing. Like it's such a just repeated thing that you just kind of say and just take for granted. This is the best community. It's like nothing else. You've never seen anything like this. In this case, just like he says in the movie, right? In this case, it is actually true. You've never seen anything like this. And we could spend an hour talking about that.
One quick thing on that theme is part of being at conferences, and I've been to two different meetups in Austin, and then this one in Vegas. And time again, what I've noticed is like, you learn from people online, and we see all our personalities and everything. However, one thing in our space that I find so unique is just the authenticity. It's not like we're all coming on and we're all unique characters in our different ways, but it literally matches up in real life. Like I don't know if there was anyone that I met at the conference that was like, oh, you're totally not in alignment with the character that you show up online. There's just like so much alignment. So I think that's one really extra cool thing about our community is just the authenticity that we have.
Yeah. And when you go outside and talk to me, it's like, I was almost tweeted this yesterday. I was like, I went outside and no one's yelling or anything. It's just so amazing. Like nobody cares about any of this stuff. You could just walk around and people they're just like, oh yeah, here's what's going on. Whether the sun's shining or not, it is real life versus, Twitter or otherwise, whatever. It depends, I think, a lot how you curate your feed, and you have the mute button, you have the block button, you have all these things available too. But in general, it's like separating that of, first of all, being anonymous or being not having accountability, however that manifests, is it can influence people or give them something that they don't think twice about saying or doing, or hey, somebody did something that I don't like, I'm going to tell everyone about it. And it's like, but do you need to do that? Like what benefit? That's always I think, what benefit is it in me doing something, tweeting about something, or talking about something? What benefit is there? Especially, if it's something negative, like I really need to, if I talk about something that's just like, I don't like and I want to change or influence in some way, I really start with, okay, how can I constructively change this? Like, what can I say that can both uplift and not crush down, not push down people, but how to uplift them, but also get the message through of, here's what I think should change, and do it in a very, respectful, but, firm way, for example. I don't think that's in the repertoire of the average Twitter user, unfortunately. So it kind of compounds. Like, I think the community sentiment, I'll bring up the poll in a minute, that's kind of interesting too. The community sentiment is, oh my gosh, the HEX community is collapsing or imploding or all these things. But it's like, I think it's just a lot of people who want to put their opinion on something, some of them more influential than others. And some of them are correct in a lot of ways and different. There's a bunch of nuance and stuff with it too. But how is it the uplifting part, the part where it fixes more than it breaks? Like that part is usually missing when all this drama tends to come up.
Yeah. And I'm going to echo something that RG has said in the similar vein to that, is not just how can we build and uplift, but how can we affect outside of our echo chamber, right? We become, I think many people, especially on X, become so hyper-focused on preaching to the choir almost. And if we really stop to think about it, that's not who we need to be talking to or talking about, or, right? There's so much more capital outside of this space, outside of X, outside of, especially, and I bring up X in particular because that's where they call it crypto Twitter, right? So if we can not just uplift, but also gauge, who it is we really need to be speaking to and bringing into the space, maybe our message is going to be a little bit different. Maybe we're going to realize, a little bit more what it is we should be talking about and who we should be talking to, because it's not the same people you've been talking to for the last 3 or 4 years. That's not how mass adoption happens.
I to piggyback off of that, for myself, these past few weeks has been super intense in like a really great way of just growth. I've been behind the scenes, and as an educator and an onboarder, my big passion is to bring 1,000 women into crypto this year. And so I've been building out a lot of systems, relationships. Like I live here in Austin. It's a huge hub for entrepreneurs, other people who are leading their networks and their communities. And I've been working with a lot of leaders to be like, hey, how do I work with the women? How do I get into your system and speak to those women who are already active and who have money? And they're like, I hear about this crypto thing and I just want guidance in. I want someone to help me out. And so I've been having so much fun in this space. It's also just been so much, but like, I find the more that I get to just focus on the onboarding side of things, the noise of crypto just dissolves away, because it's all just, it's going to be there. It's going to exist. But I get to choose, just like all of us, we get to choose like where we want to put our energy. And like, quite honestly, life outside of X is where it's at. Like, as long as you build your conviction and your belief and you ask yourself if nothing's changed, then like, just go do the thing. Like, what is the passion? What is the dream? Like, is the market going to go up? Yes. Are people going to buy? Yes. Is Richard going to buy? Yes. Okay. What do we do in the meantime? Buy when things are low, chill when things are low, live with our portfolio. Amazing. Like, euphoria will come when it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just on the just onboarding too. I mean, first I'll hit on Whitney's point real quick, because that is, I think so many people get obsessed with the price chart and things are going up, things are going down. They see commentary on Twitter. Usually when things are going down, they're like, oh, sad. And then things are going up. Oh, I'm happy again. Talked about a million times me not living putting my emotions based on the price chart. Like I can't, there's no benefit in doing it. Again, I try to go, where's there benefit in doing it? It's not doing that. So I tweeted this today, when I check the price chart, if I want to buy something and get if I think it's a good deal, right? Mr. Market comes, hey, do you want to buy this at this price today? Hey, do you want it? Every day, Mr. Market comes and asks you a question, for example. Do I want to buy? Do I want to sell? Or, do I have some leverage position or otherwise? Again, do your own research, advanced stuff, be careful, all that stuff, not promoting or otherwise. I'm just saying a lot of people use advanced tools in DeFi. If I'm like, okay, I don't want to get liquidated. Let me go switch something around if I need to. That's when I check it. Like, they might as well not exist. Literally, the candle color does not exist unless I'm going to use it for something or I need to do something. Otherwise, I'm just giving myself dopamine hits. So that's something I think is important, that it takes a while to sink in. And I think it's if once I'm able to do that, I feel so much more powerful and so much more not controlled by the market and all that stuff too. And then on the onboarding, that's a piece too that I want to talk about today. Just about keeping the principles. Again, PulseChain launched. We're open up to a whole bunch of more people, a lot more ideas, a lot more projects. We have 200 some stuff with tokens and platforms and analytics and stuff launching now. It's a big place. But what I think makes this place special of what it used to be, for example, and it's trending in a few different directions right now. But what it used to be is a place where people go for DeFi. They go to participate in an ecosystem that is in it for the tech and the price performance. They come here for products to help them solve problems and give them money to use in real life, and not just have to look at a chart and trade and do all these nasty things that tend to come from just staring at a screen all day and just trying to not building, but taking more than you give, sort of thing. Nothing is trading, nothing is people do that, but I'm just saying in general, the degeneracy can come from staring at a screen for too long over time, hoping something happens without having much ability to make the change or what you have in reality. So having new people come in, I think that RHMaxis, for example, or otherwise, people who have believe in the mission, believe in the ideals or otherwise. I've always said I'm RHMaxi for his ideals, and the products are just a natural extension. Like he makes a lot of changes he likes to see in the world with his products. For example, PulseChain, actually a network you can use with the gas fees stuff, HEX, delayed gratification, compound interest, all that productized, monetizing, money and time and all that stuff. So those things, I think figuring out a way to keep a lot of the good stuff that comes with that and hold the foundational principles there, while also incorporating a whole bunch more people who want to do a whole bunch of different things and not weakening the foundational principles. That's the hard part. And especially when, Richard's went a lot of different directions too. I mean, maybe he's changed his minds when the facts change, that sort of thing. He's definitely been ambiguous in a lot of different terms and different ways and not clear on a bunch of different stuff over time. And, I think he's learning once he makes moves, and he's learning from stuff as well. But the reason I came here is I've loved these, I love his, I think he has some of the best ideas. I've made a tweet about a bunch of people. I think I have great ideas, but I think he has some of the best ideas. And I want those to succeed and go forward. And I don't want them to be lost. And I don't want the place to turn into just like a I don't know, a circus of some sort. I don't know what the right word is for it. I don't want it to turn into
Dumpster fire?
A dumpster fire in a circus followed by, constant rainfall for years. I don't know. Like, whatever direction that feels the worst at any given time, I don't want that to be the new normal. So it's hard, because how do you do that? I think it's literally a monumental thing. And people talk about, it's not about this, you're just, the OGs don't want to change, all that. I don't think it's about that. I think there's certain things that shouldn't change. Like, they're not better if they do change. They're different. And the different could take away from what this place, what makes it special. And I don't want those things to change. I want to adapt and be flexible, but I don't want our foundational principles to change. And I think that's, some people care more or less about that in the community, and they vote with it in different ways with their words and their money and all that stuff too, with different products and otherwise. But that's so important. And it's so easy to lose sight of it. It's almost like it's hard to even conceptualize losing that. Like, it's almost like, oh no, that would never go away. But it's like, okay, why wouldn't it? And like, what happens if it does? I don't want to find out. So,
okay, I have a question for both of you. During these times, I frequently like to, when there's drama and there's heightened emotions, I like to ask myself always, what has changed? And so for you guys, what do you think has changed? Has anything changed?
The thing that I see is that it's twofold, and I think this mentality is like the same kind of person. You over leveraged and you relied too much on just listening to Richard, which I'm not like against that, obviously. Like, I think most of the time he's speaking truth and is speaking, he's playing 4D chess. To me, the man is always playing 4D chess. He's always 3 or 4 steps ahead of everyone and knows exactly what he's doing, and everything is very calculated. I think maybe more what I'm trying to say is just like so what has changed is that Richard not being as active on YouTube, because he's been active. Like, I'm not going to say he went away, because he didn't go away. He didn't go anywhere. Like, he's always been here this entire time, just in a more, reserved and non-public and not on YouTube type of way. So if you based, your investment or, whatever it is you're doing with your money here, like, on just him speaking like alone, I feel like that's kind of like you're doing it wrong. Like, we shouldn't be allowing our emotions to dictate, right, whether we're, in or out of something that we've put our money and our trust and our time into. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So basically the answer is like, not seeing Richard publicly out on YouTube, like, that to me is the biggest thing that changed, that so many people seem to have an issue with. And I think that that's not a good thing, because HEX, like, what if Richard died? Like, what if he was just gone forever? HEX would still run. It would still do its thing. All of this would still exist. So that's, to me, that's, you have to take your emotion away from the man. You have to separate the man. And I get, right? Like, much like Elon, he can say a thing and the price goes up or down. But like, there's so many people outside of our ecosystem and outside of this space that are watching the price and have no idea that's what happened. So I guess that's kind of a long-winded answer, but that's the one thing that in my mind sticks out as to what changed is, whether what is people, seeing Richard or not seeing Richard. Like, that was the biggest thing that's changed over the last couple of years that I think has affected the mentality and the emotions of people that are invested here.
Yeah. And just on, I mean, you kind of were insinuating too, like, Richard matters less than, for example, the code and the community. Like, he's the founder. he built the thing, you know, he's doing whatever now. He's putting his influence here and there. But at the end of the day, I got into HEX. I bought HEX because, yeah, you know, I liked Richard. Like, okay, whatever he's doing a project, I'll get into it. But why did I stake for, you know, 15 years if I would do such a thing? Why do I have it? Why am I, you know, in this RH ecosystem almost, you know, why am I here in the first place? It's not so I can have a guy go pump my bags all the time. Like, it's not about that. Like, that's kind of cool and it's complimentary, I guess, but it's really about the product and that mattering more than anything else. So as far as what's changed, I mean, I think just the devaluing of HEX has been the biggest thing to me that I've seen. Of now HEX is just, it's just another coin. Like, it's not the premier DeFi product. It's not the store value. And you could say, okay, it hasn't been store value because it went down 98%. Get all that. I also think Richard is using his influence, for example, to reset that with a new price chart and a new way to go up and all those benefits that come with that, along with all the detriments as well. But I think that HEX has taken a back seat, and I'm not saying this as a HEX. I'm not a HEX maxi. I'm saying this as that HEX being the center focus is what brought everyone together to form these foundational principles. So if it's not around that much anymore, or if it's not like the product that people come in to buy and they come in to buy everything else but that, they're not signing up for the same type of principles. And therefore it's like you have a country and, you know, you have immigration, right? And you have a bunch of people come from other countries and they may not have the same values. And if there's too many people, I'm not trying to turn this into like immigration pro or for thing, but I'm saying in general, the culture, if they're not on board with the new culture and they would bring their own, it's going to dilute the current culture, whether that's for better or for worse. So it's kind of like, I think of it like that changing of, we have so many people, so many products, so many different ideas that don't align. And some of them, you know, some of them obviously are for benefit. Some of them bring a ton of benefit with them, onboarding and TVL and just like-minded thinking in general, but some of them don't. And they don't support a lot of the things that, you know, again, we built this place from. So I think that's changed, and it doesn't have to turn out to be, okay, the place has changed. Like that's what I don't want to see, you know, 2 or 3 years from now. You know, let's say the price goes to the moon, everyone's happy, everything's good. We have another market cycle, and it's just like, well, we don't know what to do now. We need someone to tell us what to do, or everything's just a casino now. Like, I don't think that is a good evolution of the ecosystem. And I don't think, and it's not about this afraid to change. It's like, okay, let's change for the right reasons. If we're going to do this, let's change for the benefit, not for because, you know, chasing the short-term gains or whatever it is too. And it's not a knock at meme coins or NFTs or any of that stuff either. It's just in general, I've never seen so many people be so, I don't know, like it's almost like disengaged and ready to leave after not only had they been here the entire time they've been waiting on the thing to launch, PulseChain, and not only did they, you know, put their time, energy, capital. We've seen, you know, people who were really active in the community, not so active anymore, all that stuff. Everyone does what they need to do, but it's to a point where, for me, when I feel frustrated or otherwise, I fall back to my principles. I say, okay, why am I here? What am I doing this for? What can keep me, you know, aligned and not cope? I think cope, I'm going to finish up here in a second, but just the word cope, somebody mentioned it on the stream the other day, and I think it's so misused. I think cope is like when things are obviously bad and never going to get better, and you're just trying to and you just can't stop believing in a thing. I think that's more appropriate for cope. There's no cope to be had here. There's no, like, if you believe in the mission and you believe I don't know, maybe you just have to be around for a while. You just have to actually put your, just take in the data and like make rational like judgments on it or something. I don't know what it is, but there's nothing to cope about. Like I hope, again, I don't know, no financial advice. I hope we're on the precipice of the most amazing bull run you've ever seen in your lives. I hope that. I can't prove it. Nobody else can either. And you can't prove the opposite. So from what I've seen and what I've been around and been privy to in conversations and ability to understand, nothing would lead me to believe otherwise. So why would being loyal to a brand and being positive when there's dips. Why would that have anything to do with coping? It doesn't make any sense. So I think that word's way overused, and it's kind of losing meaning at this point. So as soon as I say it in the chat, of course, we got folks having fun. But anyways,
I think as I'm hearing you even say coping too, one thing I've been looking at is, because we are such a community and a tight-knit community that cares so much about people and the people within it, the builders, the people who have been sharing, investing, like we've created relationships. I think also part of a community is sometimes what we're feeling right now is when people in the community feel like they're hurt, or when things go down or someone loses, that we maybe this is just the empath in me, but maybe there's a part of it that feels bad for those people that did lose their money or were over leveraged in HEX, thinking that would be something big. And so maybe just as a community, we're just feeling that feelings of like somewhat like, I feel bad for people who have lost something or who thought that something was going to go one way. And like the aspect of change of like, well, and like you said, it's not really like too much of change. It's more of just, I mean, like we've been seeing it all along that Ethereum's gas fees are not sustainable in these ways. And I don't think like, I personally don't think that it was delivered in the best way, but I think this was just the writing on the wall anyways. And it's the thing also that Richard's been saying all along. So I'm just like, nothing actually has changed here. And I think it's just a matter of like, the people in the community are finally like, this is your way of being like, I can't sugarcoat that this is not going to be a way in the future. I was kind of, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, just the 50, let's say 50 tweets he did summarized in one sentence. Basically, I'm not supporting Ethereum anymore, and I want everyone to get to PulseChain.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing new. Influential, big effect on the community, but nothing new.
Yeah.
So I think, that piece alone, again, I did the previous 4 streams. I've talked about, it sucks for Ethereum, people building on Ethereum stuff. It sucks for new people who came in who got onboarded there. Nobody knew this stuff. And even, it's like there was no migration. Like even when I asked Richard back 2 years ago at the conference, is this a migration? He said, no. Okay, not a migration. And then 2 years later, I did a whole timeline of like, okay, it looks like the market has decided. That was last year. And then this year, it was, okay, why are you guys still doing that? And the market responded and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, well, again, I agree with you. That could have been, it's complicated because if you look at it one way, he was just making a tweet, again, saying, I'm not supporting Ethereum anymore. So HEX is not, HEX is out. There's 4 coins now. That's that sort of thing. I'm not pumping the HEX bags. That's kind of basically what he said. He didn't say, and again, his actions. I was listening to Big Pep talk earlier today, and I like he talked about, what someone's actions, not only their words. The OA, who knows? This could happen. I don't expect it to or anything. I have no expectations of anything, but there was no massive sell-off down forever to completely get rid of Ethereum. So there was no move by any entity maybe related to Richard to actually axe HEX. He was just saying, hey, you guys do what you want, but I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not supporting Ethereum because of these reasons. Whatever the reasons, whether you agree with them or not, it's a different story. But that's what he said. So yeah, again, I feel for people who had it, and of course, who knows? What if I have HEX ladders and stuff too? Am I like super frustrated and mad and blaming like Richard or blaming the community or blaming anything else for it? No, that's part of the game. It's like, I don't think anyone had 100%. I mean, okay, I say this, maybe there's new onboards and stuff. That sucks. I hate to see anyone buy HEX and not get rewarded or see the price go down temporarily or whatever. We see how the market's responding. It's actually up a lot at this point. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, but I hate to see anyone buy it and not get rewarded. But at the same time, this is crypto. Things happen that you can't predict. You're not going to understand everything. And a lot of people criticize the 4D chess thing. And I'm like, to me, 4D chess just means he has the information or most of it, and he shares with it what he wants to. And we don't know most of it. He has most of it. We don't have most of it. He's very influential. We're not so much. We're the market. We're the community. And again, he's talked about before, community is the most important thing. If anything, I would hope that Richard does at some point is, again, I don't want to ask anything of him or otherwise, but it would be nice to see a focus more on, hey, all right, I made my statements, whatever. But as I said before, community is the most important thing. You know, I love you guys, all that type of stuff, whether you believe he means it or whatever, not, it's irrelevant. But that kind of thing could be, hopefully there's a place for that. And hopefully with green candles, I think a lot of it, again, gets solved anyways. But, you know, if that's what he believes, I hope to see him share that more publicly one day as well, whenever he can him to do it. But that's something that, you know, trust is fragile in the community too. I've heard a lot of people say, I don't trust Richard anymore on this stuff. Not that you ever needed to, but again, and as a founder, he has a right to say whatever he wants about his product. Like he's a founder, he can say whatever he wants, like anyone else, whether, you know, his influence takes in a different direction that you like. But, you know, I think he does love the community. I think he sees how important it is. And is it always his focus priority? Again, we don't know. He just sees what he tweets about, what he says on video and otherwise. So I don't think getting caught up in, like, I can't think that, you know, Richard flooding my bag, to me, it's not, I don't see the benefit in that way. I don't get a lot from that. If I were to frame it that way, I would frame it as, I'm not supporting Ethereum anymore. And you guys, here, I'm telling you about it now. Now, again, could he done it? I started this with, like, if you believe he could have did it better or not, that's a different thing. But, like, what did he do? I guess I would start with that. What did he do that he could have done better, other than, you know, saying I'm not supporting Ethereum anymore? What did it take everyone by surprise? Sure. I don't know if you expected him to do that. I guess that's no expectation clause. I don't know. There's not a lot of good answers here, but there's a lot of different ways to think about it. I guess that's the point.
Yeah, and we can't really know what's going on in his head or behind the scenes, right? Because one theory, right, that I'll put out there that I kind of lean into is that because of what's going on with the case, right, like maybe he wasn't able to talk about a lot of this, or was advised not to for some time, right? And he was letting the market just kind of do its thing, and it's still going to do its thing. That's the thing, you know, like we saw even after this tweet and after this huge dump, like it's not like we lost to zero. Or I mean, like, you know, like all the way. I've never seen it go. I think this is the lowest I've ever seen HEX. Or it may have gone a little bit lower than this in the last few years, but still, it's just like, it's not, I hate that people are calling it rug pull and like all this other junk. It's, you know, it's not that, and the market speaks for itself. And it's, you know, I think there are too many people involved in this ecosystem and are staked in that manner for it to really just be gone forever. And I think Richard is right to promote and want to bring migration and action to PulseChain. It got me to do something, you know what I mean? Like, I'm starting, especially if you don't follow this person, whoever they are yet, lulz.pls, man, like that account is got some really great alpha. They've known Richard like from years and years ago. So whoever it is someone that's very close to Richard, it seems. And there are things that I'm now more concerned with and aware of, and definitely it's things I probably should have spent more time in the bear market looking into or doing, but I spent my time otherwise. But I am starting to look into LP providing and, you know, liquidity providing and doing like single-sided staking. And I just did my stake with Project Pi of Pulse because I want to eventually become a digital validator through their system. So there are so many other things that we can or maybe should focus on within our PulseChain ecosystem that we should be talking about and building up. I think that's part of what it was, is that maybe, and of course none of us know, right? But like maybe part of it was that Richard was just like, hey, now it's time to flip the script, right? Like we really need to start talking about this amazing chain, this fork that has been created and exists and has, because he's been yelling about it for like a year now. Like, I mean, it's almost been a year since PulseChain's been out, right? And I would say the majority of his tweets have been, hey, bros, Bitcoin bros, Ethereum bros, check out the fees on PulseChain and how minuscule they are. So I think this was just a way for him to get louder about it, you know, and to really rally us behind PulseChain.
very PulseChain focused. Very, I think that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's been a big change. Again, just talking about changes too, has been the focus on PulseChain instead of HEX, which again is like, okay, I want to see him talk about HEX a lot too, because I love HEX and all this stuff. But I think, again, I call this move a sacrifice. I call it I believe he felt like he had to sacrifice EHEX, get everyone away from Ethereum, as whoever who will listen or go, go with that narrative or whatever, and then to funnel more people into PulseChain, because that is what he wants to scale. That's where he wants to have the network effect and all that stuff too. And just real quick, I want to get to Fast Abdul's comment here. Interfere with the market, mock people lost. I think interfere with the market, I look at that as, I mean, I would treat it the same as if Elon made a tweet that was detrimental to Tesla. That's happened before. If Vitalik said something that the Ethereum guys didn't like or something, I would put it in that category. So to me, and then there's even, if you go to the real extreme, dip catchers, like there is no market manipulation. Like everything that happens in the market is by people who have capital, for example, and can move it in the way they see fit. And that's fair game. Like that's another way of looking at it. I'll say I completely agree with that, but I think that's a interesting way of looking at it too. And then mock people lost. I don't know. I think, I don't know. I don't really try to think about how nice Richard can be to people or otherwise. I did mention I hope that he does some communities, more community building stuff, more positive things if he chooses to do so, especially after all this stuff. That would be nice to see, but I don't expect that. And if he doesn't do it, it's not, I'm not going to like wait on it or anything. But I think the mocking people lost part, framed in that way, for example, I would say that maybe he's trying to send a message that may hurt, of course. Again, a lot of people are hurt over it. Heart goes out to them. I get it. But I think the message is get on PulseChain. And if you take that message to the extreme of the actions we've seen from entities that have been buying and bridging and all that stuff too, maybe he's saying, if you want to be on the moon boat, it's on PulseChain, that sort of thing. That maybe that's a message that could come out from it too. Maybe we'll find that out later. I don't know, but I think that's.
I'm gonna make an AI image of that, the moon boat. I like that. I like that word combo.
Yeah, if you want on the moon boat, like that's the most useful way I could take that. So I mean, valid comments. I think that's the way I would interpret them.
One thing that we all keep saying, I think SJ, you were saying this too, is like everything that's being built on PulseChain. I think this is just a reminder of like where we shift our attention, what we talk about, like that's what we're continuing to amplify and grow. And so even with his tweet, when he's saying like, hey, it's over in PulseChain. Hey, there's building over in PulseChain. Hey, the fees are too expensive. Come on over. I think this is also a reminder for like us in the community too, is like, we can keep like, I mean, a lot of this topic feels very exhausted at times. And even I can see in the comments from a lot of us too, like it's exhausted. And I think there's part of it of like, we as a community, we can collectively keep on staying on this topic and staying on this like what if train. But collectively, it's like we're moving forward. You can either be part of the building or you can be part of the drama of like what is. But either way, everything's in life is still moving forward.
I certainly hope EHEX. I'm totally okay seeing new EHEX stuff, people building on it, supporting it. I know Dipcatcher and those guys have built, they launched an entire platform, Pull Party, that they launched it on Ethereum too. And I've always said, I think in the future, the gas fee problem is like, I don't know why it wouldn't go away. You got, as somebody says, 4,000 IQ alien Vitalik working on this stuff. There's already in the works. There's already Denkin just came out, which was like one first step towards proto-dank sharding. And then you have dank sharding coming out next year, which is another step towards reducing transaction costs and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's like, why, to me, it's like, it's weird that it wouldn't be solved eventually, even as Ethereum grows and scales and all this stuff too. So I don't think in the future gas fees are going to be a problem. Long way of saying that. I don't even think that's going to be a thing, but right now they are. So clearly PulseChain is the better experience for HEX. And that's all the point of the whole thing is about. And of course, getting more people into PulseChain, that's where once you get into the playground, you see all the products, see all the stuff, you get to interact, have a good experience, hopefully you have some ad gains as well. So to me, it's not even, if I could snap my fingers and see all the Ethereum stuff go away and HEX, everyone just like be able to get a fair price and then just get out and just like stop working. I don't even, I'm not even thinking that direction. I hope everyone building on it gets rewarded and people's bags go up. And Richard even said it the other day in the tweet, he said, maybe HEX will go along for the ride up. You know, just I think maybe what it's insinuating was just not as much as all the PulseChain stuff. So I don't think HEX is going anywhere. Will it take a back seat? I think so. Will PulseChain HEX dominate? I think so. Will there be a lot of capital and longer stakes and all that stuff go into it? But just on the staking portion too, I think that's the biggest damage I can think that may be occurring in the community due to this is the loss of faith in staking now, because they've seen Richard, you know, pick one. Okay, again, whatever that means, however people interpret that, whatever he said, PulseChain HEX is the one that he likes. He's not going to support Ethereum, and some people may view that as abandoning a project that they've invested into and they put time and energy, and they would never expect that. It should always be exploited, all that stuff. So what do y'all think about the staking narrative? Like, is it broken for HEX now? Like, to me, I didn't really think about it. I mean, I don't think I'm going to stake. I don't know. I haven't decided quite on the E stuff yet, but I feel less inclined to stake on EHEX, for example, especially long term. Even knowing what I know about the gas fees and my beliefs there. But on PulseChain HEX, to me, it really didn't make a big dent as far as having faith in the system. Because I don't know. I mean, I guess what is the argument for that we're going to have PulseChain 2 and he's going to abandon the PulseChain 1 in the future and that's going to be worth it, and that we're going to go through this again. Like, I don't know have you all lost any trust in HEX staking through this? I don't think I have, but I'm curious what you all think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick.
I just want to say that, like, that, I think that's the worst. That's the thing I don't want to lose. Delayed gratification, compounding. It's just the product. The whole product is based on this thing. You get rewarded for waiting and monetizing time and all. That's so important, and I hope we're not losing that. But
I don't think we are. I just don't. I think that Richard tweeted that horn for so long that, and again, none of us know what he's thinking or how this is going to work out or play out. I think in part, you know, it's kind of going a little off topic, but like, it's so too soon like to really know what the impact of this is going to be or what the next step Richard is going to take, right? Like, I'm going to be really interested to see 2-3 months from now what's going on and what he's saying and what the narrative is. In terms of staking, I still see the value of the T-share, right? Nobel Prize worthy, up and to the right forever. That is something that is, just like you're saying, Max, it's what we based a lot of our, you know, interest in this product in, right? Replacing the certificate of deposit at a bank. That's what, you know, HEX is. But in addition to that, or like in I can't think of what I'm trying to say here, but in contrast, I guess, is that narrative didn't stick, right? That wasn't, to Richard, that wasn't sticky enough, the certificate of deposit, right? So I think maybe his next move, or maybe something he's going to start trying to work on or get us to work on, is how do we get the narrative of what the Nobel Prize worthiness of a T-share is, right? How do we convince the masses that instead of a 401k, they need to be putting their money into staking HEX to earn these T-shares? I mean, I don't remember who it was. I just saw someone talking about the T-share payout, right? Like, what, 60? What, like the other day that happened, and it's been, you know, up and back and forth a lot in the last few days. We've had so much HEX coming into our accounts, those of us who are staked and have these shares, right? What a beautiful thing to see our bags just growing, just continuing to grow. It's lovely. And HEX is just becoming more and more scarce. So I have a feeling that that's not been lost. It's just not at the forefront right now. I think that is something that is the core of what HEX and PulseChain are about, right? Because he made PulseChain to make HEX better. So yeah, it's just, I don't think that plot has been lost. I think it's just not at the forefront of what, you know, what may bring mass adoption right now.
So as you're saying this, one thought that is coming in is around how this move may actually all be part of the more decentralization aspect, because now he's fully removing himself from the picture. And if and when HEX, if truly, I mean, we can only say if, however, EHEX does perform here on out, is not credited to Richard. It's he's birthed it, he's created it, but now he's simply removed himself from the formula. And so how cool is that, that when something does, and if this thing does perform as we still, I mean, I still think that EHEX will still do its thing. Growth wise, who knows what it actually gets to, but Richard's no longer in the formula, and he can still say like this T-share, everything T-share, like the whole function of the thing can operate truly without him, without even his approval, like just all on its own the way it should.
Yeah, girl. Say those words. That's it. Because I mean, what does Richard continually say over and over again is his greatest accomplishment? The community.
The community.
So again, what if this was just one of those 4D chess moves to put HEX into the hands of the community for real?
And you know, like the most painful, like, I mean, I say painful, but like in a community, we have become so resilient to change. And I think a lot of this too is like, we are all the trailblazers, part of this decentralized community. And a lot of this, the stepping stones that have to happen in our community is we are shifting from centralized to decentralized. And any community has to do that. It's kind of like a bird taking flight. Like you're leaving your parents' home. It's like that whole thing being like initiations, like, am I okay? Are we safe? Can we really fly? And little bit by little bit, like our community has to go through this incubation period to be like, are we really that decentralized? Can we really do this? Can we really do this without this and that, da, 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 da? And so like this entire last fully year, I mean, we can even say more than that, but definitely this year we've been tested and initiated into new levels of decentralization, and we can really lead without our leader being on YouTube. And more of us can pick up our mics, more of us can have conversations, more of us can be builders, creators, investors in different ways. And this is our initiation of doing something that has never been done. And so naturally, of course, we're going to feel this emotional roller coaster ride because we care about it and we care about each other. But also we're calibrating to that next level of where we're shifting to in the world to be like, this decentralized community can live and thrive and continue to keep growing.
It would be interesting if this was a test. It's like all the things you just said of like, we don't, it's like, we don't need him to stream. It's okay. We like the contract. And then all of a sudden he just like, hey, you guys think it's to stream tonight? And then like everything just like reverts back to, oh, everything's fine again. He's back. And then the price goes up, all this stuff. I don't know. I think it's, do we need to be, I do think about that sometimes of like all the stuff in the past 2 or 3 years, all the waiting and 2 more weeks and all the SEC and just look at the thumbnail. Shout out to, I put a link to the person who posted that thumbnail. I don't know if they originally created it, but it's amazing thumbnail of like all the stuff we've been through and everyone's like, haha, you're just lucky. You just bought the right coin. Nobody's pointing at us being lucky right now, I don't think, but I certainly hope that the meme prophecy is fulfilled at some point again. But I think it would be interesting that if this was a test to really, again, 50 weeks theory, shake out the weak hands, 50 weeks, all that stuff. With I think it's coming up in a month or so. And, I think a lot of the things that have changed, of course, we see, the OA-like entity, Sack Daddy or otherwise, buying and all of the types of moves. And I've covered them and a lot of people covered them too. But, I'm talking about this with access to just about the boot, like, if this is a bootstrap, if this is a way that, all the funds that all these wells provide or have, are whether they're used as perpetual buy pressure or whether they're not used at all, or, all this stuff, if it is meant to be this type of bootstrap for the ecosystem to get eyeballs and get attention and just to get, again, more people in, that's what we're missing right now, is we're just trading money with each other. All the TVL and stuff is people, or from Hexicans and people who sacked and are hoping their stuff's worth more in the future, that sort of thing. Like getting more people in and, again, growing the place and having more products and more TVL and more, ability to grow the place with just about what we have now, just the people who've been here for a couple of years. And if we're able to do that, I mean, I don't think it's hard to even, again, conceptualize the type of growth that can happen once these things get kicked off. So if it is a bootstrap and the green candles start bringing people in and otherwise, and maybe that's the point of even deploying any of the funds or otherwise, maybe that's what kicks it off and it starts happening. And we get that all these, imaginary amazing things, instead of imaginary horrible, it's imaginary amazing things where everything else is going sideways, but PulseChain and HEX, they're going up. Look at all this stuff. Look at the ecosystem. Everyone come in here, and we do make this thing a place that's sustainable in the future, and more people come and build. Maybe good problems to have as far as maybe gas fees in the future or another culture shifts and all that stuff too. But imagining that versus the opposite, to me, I always think of in terms, it is unreasonable that this ecosystem won't achieve glory. Like, it is unreasonable.
Totally.
Like,
it's just time.
There's no certainty. There's none of that stuff. It's just, if you think about it in terms, it is unreasonable that it won't happen. So why, that's the way I think about it.
I'm also noticing where I'm just like, wait, isn't this so cool that if we go back to the values of our community, one of the things that has been instilled so deeply is growth, and the growth mindset, being resilient, changing, and adaptability. And so much of everything that we're doing today is we're just experiencing, and all of these changes has been experiencing growth collectively as a community. And so I don't really know how many communities, especially, I mean, quite honestly, given how young we are, we still are very, very young. But how time doesn't really show for how tight we all are and how strong we've become. But really the fact that it speaks to our volumes of how adaptable we are to change and how growth oriented we are, because now we have a community full of leaders who supports and encourages people to stay in the game, to remind themselves of the big picture of what we're actually involved in, to remind ourselves that growth and change is uncomfortable in moments, but it sets way for long-term delayed gratification. And I'm just like, how beautiful it is that this is what has been infused and created in our community so that we can ride and we can create glory.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that's what I wanted to get into too. Just what made you all get into HEX and PulseChain in the first place? For me, I've talked about it a lot of just different principles, and I was following RH and kind of just hey, this guy's building some stuff. I like him. Let me get into it. Oh my gosh, this is actually really cool. And eventually, okay, I want to spend my time, energy, capital, in this place. This is the place. And then Scivive and all this stuff too. But what is the foundations of this place, and why has HEX play such a big role in that? Whoever wants to take it first.
Okay, so for myself, at first I have to say I didn't fully trust Richard. It was energy of where I was at in my own crypto journey as well. But with that, I was like, I'm going to put $1,500 into HEX and see what happens. And so first that I got in before the last big payday, I watched that 1,500 turn into $110,000. And I was like, oh, okay. He's got my attention. So first off, I was drawn in through that. And then that actually had me stay and explore more of the community and just observe as an outsider, honestly, where I was like, can I build my trust? How can I build my trust? What is going on here? How does this form? Why did price perform in this way? But also, why does this exist? And the more that I started to peel things back, it really wasn't until PulseChain came out that I was really deeply, deeply in it. And I'm just like, oh, I can see this. I can feel this. For me, it was the decentralization. That is what I can feel here on Earth, where it's the systems that we have outgrown in the world, the centralization, the powers that are corrupt, that we have totally gotten, that is an old way. People crave something new. And decentralization is something that takes time to be able to build. So, and it's something that you can't buy people's trust. It has to be built, and it has to be a community full of leaders. And so what I've seen here with PulseChain in our community is collectively where it's oh, the sky really is not it's not the limit. There is no limit here, because we are doing something that has never been done before. You cannot just magically snap your fingers and create a product, a community that is bond together and lives in trust together and cares about each other. That is unique. And if that is the case, us as a collective community can continue to sculpt and move and form in a way that we are adaptable and we need to be. So the technology, the values, the community, I mean, the community is honestly the biggest asset, which we like to say. The community is a greater asset than code. That's been the huge draw for me.
So I got in later than both y'all, and at first didn't know even who Richard was. I studied HEX for about 6 months as I was DCAing in, because I was already on a journey to find, I was looking for HEX. I was looking for exactly what this product is and what it does. I knew that I was going to have some money to move around from selling my home, and wasn't into crypto at all. Wasn't really, I knew about crypto, but wasn't really that interested in it. And, was looking into other ways to make my money work for me. And then when I spent those hundreds of hours listening to content about HEX and how it worked and how the code worked, I was sold. I was like, this is exactly what I've wanted and what I've been looking for in terms of being financially free, having control over my finances, and being on the cutting edge of technology, right? Just all those things combined is what drew me in. And then what got me to stay was learning really about Richard and who he was. That was the first thing that got me to stay, or that gave me just the absolute confidence that this was something that can, and I believe will, change the world. It has already changed the world for many people. And getting to know, really, really digging in, those of you that know my story, that's how Scivive happened. That's how the audiobook happened, is that I really wanted to dig in and find out, who is this guy? Like, who is Richard? What is he really about? And reading Scivive helped me to realize that he is a benevolent, philanthropic man who really cares about the world and really wants to bring about change, and is really smart and has our best interests at heart. And he really does, you guys. Like, I can't express to you, I wish I could just like ooze out my knowing of who Richard is as a person, having like some conversations with him over the last few years, right? The fact that I've had the chance and the opportunity to speak with him and, talk to him about Scivive and hear feedback from him about different things, and seeing him, talk about the community in all these different ways, and it's cool. I love the dichotomy, or like the difference between Black Hexakin and I, because I talk about this a little bit when we get to do our speech on the PulseChain tour, and she's the opposite. She's just like, I'm in this and I don't think, Richard matters at all, right? But for me personally, that's how I really became so steadfast in knowing that this is the way, right? And this is something that I think is going to affect the lives of many people in the future, because it's already done so for so many. And I'm like just super bullish and excited about what's to come. I mean, I think that that's something that we need to keep in mind, is like being in the present, yes, but also knowing that we have a lot to look forward to, and that building each other up and being positive and bringing in that mindset of abundance is really what this is all about, right? Because there's more than enough for everyone. There is more than enough for all of us to have wealth and to be financially free. I hope that answered it.
No, that's great to hear. And just, I always think about it too. I mean, I think, you have a different perspective, and Whitney has a different one as well. I mean, me and SJ are sort of the same on a few different levels, just as far as Scivive and stuff goes, and like really being, at least for me, again, a maxi for his ideals, not for the products, but for his ideals. And I'm like, holy shit, these products are awesome. Yes, I love these things too. And I think these hold the foundational principles, a lot of the ecosystem and all that. But he really does care about, I know people won't say, I don't care if Richard cares about me, or I don't think he cares about anyone, and he cares about himself, or whatever it is, whatever impression people get, that's their own impression. But for me, everything I've ever seen him do, I felt he's did it for, he's already got everything he needs. And of course he wants glory, but he wants glory in a way, he wants to earn it. Like how do you get glory? You earn it. You make everyone else better. Like, you don't get glory just being the richest man in the world. What glory is that? I mean, I guess you can make up your own glory, and it could be your story or whatever, but I don't think it's his story. So I think he really does care about the community. And, and it's not something I can't just tell you that and you believe it. Like, you really just gotta, again, read Scivive. You gotta listen to him talk for hundreds of hours over the years. Like, I don't know, like we do there are people in this ecosystem who have these experiences. They can tell you about it, their interpretation of what he's about and stuff. So don't even try to talk about like what he's about half the time, because I know people don't even, I've said it so many times, if you don't get it by this point, like it's just, you're not going to get it from me. Like, you're just not going to understand it if you don't want to, that sort of thing. If you're trying to go some other angle, or he's just trying to run away with the money, or some other irrational thing that like literally doesn't add up, like it's hard to explain. And it's not this religious thing. Like, I hate that it has to be this, you have to be like a cultist, or you have to sign up for a religion in order to believe that. It's the weirdest thing to me. It's like, how about just research and data and listening to someone and getting to know someone over time. So I think that and again, I just want to hit the poll real quick too. I did this earlier today or yesterday. Do you feel like you're winning in the RH ecosystem? Most people, again, regardless of what Twitter says, most people clicked yes on this. If they were honest, that's around 2/3 of people who still believe that this guy has the best interest of the community at heart, and they're well positioned for mad gains. That's what, one interpretation of this could be. So I think we're in better shape than it looks sometimes. I guess it's a message on that.
We're in such better shape, and I like we're at this point where it's just like there's the growth potential, like, and I hate saying even the word growth potential, but like it truly, like, not from the aspect of it hasn't been realized yet, but like there's so much more coming ahead. It's so I'm glad that we even have a 2/3 mix. Like, that's the way it should be. It's not pure euphoria. It's just like we're confident. And even that word cult, with the cult and the godlike status that people put into things, I'm like, I find that annoyance as well, that people have to say that something is cultish when someone actually just has confidence of like, I've done my research, I've done my homework, I'm confident in where I put my money, I'm confident in my beliefs of what I see in the future, I'm aligned value-wise. It's a totally different mix, but don't mix confidence up with cultnish.
Yeah, I think unshakable confidence is like, to me, it's just, again, it's just like, I see a product. I've explained it like this before. I found a place that has the best cheeseburger. I love cheeseburgers. I found a place that has the best one. Am I going to go next time I want a cheeseburger? I'm going to go, oh, let's find a different place. I'm tired of having the best one. I want to go somewhere else. Let's go somewhere else that's like further away and more expensive or whatever. No, I want to go back to the same place. So like, why? What else do I need? This is the place that has the best stuff. So like, being just when things, haven't went to the moon on whatever time scale, that the market don't care about what I think. Like, no, like Richard probably don't care what I think. The market doesn't care. Why would I assume that I can bend the world to whatever I want it to be, other than maybe there's like a spiritual manifestation thing that's actually pretty interesting there. But in general, just, in a real world example, it's like, why would any of the expectations that I probably shouldn't have come true on any time horizon that I set, when I'm not the matrix creator? I'm not the guy pulling the strings, if there is such a thing, all those different theories too. So like, why would that happen? Like, how could I even come up with expectations to have at that point? All I can do is put in the work, be well positioned, and wait. That's the only thing I can do. And in the meantime, what's there to be sad about? Like, there can be ups and downs and stuff, but losing, like, again, the whole cope thing, it's like losing the ability to believe in a place because things haven't went the way that you wanted them to go on your time horizon, when you have no control over that again, rationality, I'm going to go with that doesn't make a lot of sense. Been ignoring chat for a while. I'm going to scroll through a minute. You guys can, what's up, Super Hex Win? Good to see you, man. Got to meet Super Hex Win in Vegas. Another awesome Hexkin, putting out a lot of great content on all the socials as well. Anyone have any questions, by the way, in here? I wanted to talk about, I got one other topic to throw up here too, but yeah, if you guys have any questions, put them in. I'm not going to scroll through the whole thing again, but appreciate everyone being here and listening, and hopefully getting value from the discussion and commentary. Hex Classic, there we go. So when I first, I think a lot of people are, if there is a branding thing, if there is a way to sell this to new people. I think that's one of the, again, the biggest challenge in the ecosystem with this shift from the founder, for example, whether you're going with it or not, the shift in the sentiment towards Ethereum and stuff. The biggest challenge with that is one, well, I guess community, stand together, focus, all that stuff too. But also onboarding people, where the entire internet has all the data, historical data on HEX. And if we're trying to show them a new chart, they kind of got to be in PulseChain or know about those tools first. That's very hard. That's a mess trying to get all the gatekeepers. If you even ranked this properly in the first place, now you gotta go to the other sites and show people those sites and all this stuff too. So that's a mess too. But the whole story of onboarding, I think, when I first heard HEX Classic, and I've heard people mention it from time to time, even before all this as well, I didn't really like it because it felt too, I don't know what the word was for it. I just didn't like it. It made it too much of a backseat for Ethereum. But I think, I don't know, maybe for a marketing angle, it could be a good thing. And somebody mentioned this before too, what the other HEX, the only other product that's ever did better than the original was Ethereum, because back in the day, Ethereum actually forked. So the Ethereum we have today forked away from the other chain that had, I think, a DAO hack or some other money got lost on, whatever. So there's only been one. I mean, somebody in the chat correct me, maybe there's some other coin that did better. Only been one very popular product that did better than its predecessor after forking. So, Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash is, that's Bitcoin, got the TBL and all that stuff like that. Anyways, HEX Classic. It was hard for me to buy into it for a while. But I think now it is, if I'm telling somebody I'm trying to onboard them to HEX, I think it is probably the superior marketing angle to talk about it in those terms, because you can give them examples. And the words themselves, HEX Classic, means like, hey, this thing still exists, but there's like a new way of doing it. And so like a product marketing, all that, I think it has the best legs of anything else I've heard. So, that's the piece to me. I think, I'm not sure if a lot of people have decided how the branding stuff going forward is going to work, but to me, the one that makes the most sense is HEX Classic. And I named this the last HEX Classic stream, not because I'm going to stop talking about HEX or HEX Classic, but this is just the fifth one in the series of talking about this and going over this, because it's such an important thing for the community, and I wanted to cover it. So this is the last one I want to do exclusively on that, at least at this time. So again, being people in chat, some people are asking, like, am I just not talking about HEX anymore? No, that's not the case. This is just the final piece I hope to put together maybe I'll make a playlist for this, trying to explain what has happened over this past week or so and how we're going forward. So yeah, last question, we'll wrap up on this. I know Whitney's got to head out too in a minute, but like, what do y'all think about branding going forward, and how do you plan on onboarding people to get more people into the ecosystem now?
For me, I go through PulseChain, so it's an easier. I think PulseChain's a pretty easy market sell, anyways. Faster, cheaper, better. Community. Community is my biggest selling point to people, and to have them see community, founder, use case, the vibrancy of things that are being built, and it quite honestly just takes a lot more education. So I am very much looking forward to more exchanges picking things up. I'm looking forward to Coast coming back up as an onboarder. It takes a lot of education, but quite honestly, people who are in our world, they understand, like, you're educated and you understand how to move around the DeFi world. I am curious, Max, as you talk about the HEX Classic, because I had this question come up in a class the other day from one of my students asking about, like, well, doesn't this looks like a really negative chart? So I guess, how would you, from an onboarding perspective, help position the classic form to be like, okay, going forward, we're here. Like, you look at would you just direct them over to the PHEX chart, which would then just be the HEX chart, to be like, look at the history now?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I haven't thought a lot about this yet, but just off the top of my head, it's a great question. I think off the top of my head, I would, if I were talking to them in person, I had plenty of time and I could kind of tell them a story, right? Yeah. It's different than, if you're just doing if you're just talking to someone online, for example, or you just have messages and stuff. But if I were able to have a longer form conversation with them, I probably would start with, hey, Ethereum, you know, do you know Ethereum wasn't the original Ethereum? It used to be Ethereum Classic. And then something, you know, happened. You go into the story, whatever. And then it became Ethereum. And, you know, some problem occurred. They had to fix it. So they went to, you know, they went to Ethereum. And then I would say, okay, same thing happened for HEX. There was, you know, the founder, for example, created a new network. And, you know, there's the gas fees on Ethereum are really bad. So there was, I don't know how I'm going to say migration, because it still isn't like an official thing, I guess. But, and then there was, there's PulseChain now, which HEX is on, and it's much easier to use and stuff. So, you know, we call HEX on Ethereum HEX Classic, for example. And then as far as chart and stuff, yeah, I would just show them the new chart. I'd be like, you know, where's the X screener? I would just pull up the HEX chart, do HEX, yeah, HEX PLS. And actually, again, I talked about this on the previous streams, but I would have loved to seen, so this is the old HEX chart, or not the old HEX chart, the current HEX chart, but for EHEX. So if you zoom out, I was very excited to see it make the biggest comeback ever, which who knows, you never know, maybe it will over time. Inflation still is a thing. So over the years, maybe, you know, even if there is a deeper discount right now with HEX on PulseChain, then maybe there is some epic comeback as well. But yeah, this chart, I mean, I've showed so many people, you know, the sentiment is, hey, this looks like the thing's dead. And it's hard to convince people who don't know what we do that it's not. So instead of showing them that, yeah, I would just show them this chart and be like, look, you know, here's a chart. It's went up and down. The network launched, and a lot of good things have happened. And here's the story. Here's the HEX story, and basically be like, hey, this is the new chart. This is the one that the market is dominating the market and stuff. And you know, here's how to onboard. You know, send them to whatever playlist you know that you want to send them to. I got one, for example, on Go Real DeFi. There's a ton of videos and stuff there, and I'll be like, here, if you want to onboard, here's how to get on PulseChain. Here's how to get fiat on there. If you want to bridge Ethereum, all that stuff. But honestly, for onboarding, if there is one pro from this entire thing for onboarding, it is this chart for a lot of people. Like as beautiful as this looks for people who've been around for a long time, of what, you know, if you believe it could go back up here and have that kind of glory for this chart, again, jury's not out, maybe it will, but as great as that looks to people who know what can do, know what HEX did before, the 10,000X, all that stuff, this chart looks a lot more manageable, a lot more consumable, a lot more palatable for new people. So yeah, I'll just tell them current thing. I think for onboarding people is be like, you know, Ethereum went through a similar thing as far as forks and stuff go. Although this wasn't a fork, you know, there is some nuance there, but I don't know how much detail to get in with new people. Like you can kind of like hand wave a little bit, just obviously don't lie to them, but you know, kind of try to tell a relational story is what I would do. I would try to tell a relational story to Ethereum and say, hey, it's much more usable over here. And this is the new network, and that's what the community is using. And here's the chart. Here's what it looks like, and go from there. I think that's a reasonable story to tell, and it's an honest story too. And it doesn't try to hide anything. It's like, hey, this is just what happened. We had an upgrade. That's what they say on TV all the time. Bitcoin's about to get an upgrade, so maybe HEX got an upgrade, right? If the market decides it.
I agree. I like that one. Okay, I have to head out. Thank you so much for having me on. So glad to be here.
Of course. Thanks, Whitney. Good to see you. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye. I'll just, you know, when you're talking about the branding, right? I saw someone in the comments say something similar. I just think EHEX. That's what Richard's been calling it. I think that sounds good to me. You know, especially seeing you bring up that information about, because I didn't know any of that. I didn't know that. I mean, I may have heard this in the past in passing in a stream, but I didn't know that Ethereum Classic was the original. I had no idea. But if we take steps to say HEX Classic, like to me, if you're in crypto and you hear that, like there's a negative correlation with it, right? Because Ethereum Classic is not really a thing. So I'm going to stick to EHEX and HEX. So EHEX and HEX, and that's what I think Richard's been calling it the entire time, and I think that's what we should stick with.
Well, you've been excommunicated immediately, effective immediately.
Bye forever.
Yeah, bye forever. Make it nice and new. Yeah, I think there's pros and cons. I think it's going to take some time too. Again, it's been 8 days,
Exactly.
or 7 days, I guess.
Too soon, motherfuckers. Too soon.
I don't know. Would you be surprised to hear Richard tweet Hex Classic? Would you be surprised?
I think I would be surprised. I would, yeah, because he for as long as I've been listening has been saying that we should do HEX, and HEX is HEX on PulseChain.
Or I think he'll either tweet something like that, or he'll just literally just ignore HEX and never do another tweet on it. One of those things. Like either that. I think those are the two likely. It would be funny, like if he did tweet it, he would say it like, "Well, it appears that the market has started calling it Hex Classic."
Yeah.
This is the way he tweets these days. Like I could see that. That would be funny. If he ever said it. My mouse died.
Oh no.
Yeah, I can't even click. Give me just a second. Let me go, plug it in for a sec. Talk to the chat or something.
Okay. Hi chat. Hello everyone. Thanks for joining this fantastical stream. I hope you are getting at least some smidgen of a smile on your face, knowing that we are all gonna make it, friends. This is just the beginning. And as someone who was born in the bear market, all I have known is the bear market. This is my first crypto cycle, and I'm stoked. I mean, I'm still down whatever umpteen% on all of the things I invested in when I invested. But there is nothing that can compare to the way that my life has changed thanks to this community that Richard Hart built, right? So I really, truly, with all my heart, just want to say that this is just the beginning, you guys. We have so much to look forward to. And Richard, regardless of what you think in terms of what he's doing with his tweets and the charts and the price and all that, he's got a bigger picture in mind. If you've read Scivive, you would know that. If you've watched his old streams, you would know that. Crypto is not the end-all be-all of this man's mission in life. He wants glory, and I think, to me, it seems like he wants that in a greater sense than just to be the greatest man in crypto. Sure, he wants that. Sure, he's talked about that. But I really can see that he is someone who wants to change the lives of the masses. And I don't think he's going to stop at crypto. Read 15 Ways to Fix the World. Read Scivive. If you hate him, that's even more of a reason for you to read them, because then you get to know, if you want to attack him, go find something to attack that he's said in those books that he wrote. I digress. Max is back. Hello.
I plugged it in for a second and it came back. No, I heard the whole thing. I just couldn't. I was just on the other side of the room here. Matt, I wish you would warn me, hey, 10% battery. It didn't do that. So,
yeah.
That was fun. Shout out to Johnny Chaos, by the way. You can come back on stream sometime as well. ETH Classic still works, still has value, and no one uses it for its intended purpose. That is a summary, I think, as of today. I don't know how it's going to shake out, but I don't. That's the thing. Again, the thing I don't want to be weakened is the staking narrative, and it's because it's so good, and it's not the staking narrative versus hex staking. The hex staking narrative is so good because, again, bigger pays better, longer pays better. You get paid in hex. There's all kinds of different things: passive income, yield, compounding. There's HSIs, there's tradable stakes, there's all these pieces. There's pulled stakes, all the stuff that, if people are worried about gas fees, again, you could have a counter argument of, okay, maybe EHEX just turns into pulled staking, maybe on Pull Party and stuff going forward, or any other platform. Instead of people staking, if they're worried about gas fees, instead of doing 1 or 2 or 5 year stake or whatever natively or with HSIs or whatever, and there's other points to that, you just do it with you join a pool. Maybe EHEX turns into the pulled staking platform, and it's just these bigger, longer stakes instead of individual ones over time. Maybe that's a narrative that can catch on. So I don't think it's. I just think Richard's just not going to support it as far as promoting stuff. I literally, the biggest message is that, yes, it has a huge impact on things, but it's at a surface level, it is that it's not like he can turn it off, right? Like he built it so he couldn't turn it off. There's no admin keys in HEX.
It's
like
alive.
Yeah, it's alive, and it'll always be alive as long as there's liquidity and people trading it. Yep. And the market has said there's not a lot of reason to stop doing that, at least in the short term. Don't know what's going to happen in the long term, but short term, it went down and it went up, and it's doing stuff right now. We'll say that.
Yeah. And it'll just continue to do stuff.
Yeah. Just one more question. Let's see. Is there any narrative for a new onboard to choose HEX Classic over HEX? I mean, today, again, it's been a week. Unless they were joining a pool, like I want to see a lemonade stand with dip catcher and gold key. That's right in front of a big pool party where everyone's having a great time, and they're signing people up and they're giving people the numbers. And I think they might agree with this too. I'm not sure, but I think it would be a sight to see, because I think they still like EHEX a lot too. And they're saying, okay, you want to join a pooled stake? You can, EHEX is available. It's an option and stuff. But yeah, here's there's two different hexes, and here's the pros and cons and stuff. I can still see people doing that. But yeah, if I'm onboarding people, if I'm just onboarding individuals and stuff, I think I'm just going to, I'm going to try to get them into PulseChain. It's not even about HEX at this point. I think that's the biggest shift, is like, it's not even about Ethereum HEX or PulseChain HEX for onboarding now that, I think Richard has an influence on me over these tweets too. It is about getting them onto PulseChain. And then of course, what's on PulseChain? HEX and everything else, but like HEX is the product on there. So I would frame it. So your question is like how to onboard people onto HEX, onto which HEX? I would say I'm thinking about it. How do I get them onto PulseChain? And of course, once they're on PulseChain, there's a HEX on PulseChain. That's the way I would think about it. Why wouldn't EHEX return to all-time high? There's no price god that's saying it can't do that. If the market decides it's going to break all-time highs, it will. I think that would be a fun story in the bull market, if nothing else. Of course, I would, it would be weird, not financial advice, but it'd be weird to see PHEX not go much higher, which, hey, you want these good problems to have? Raise your heart ecosystem, right? So I don't think unless the market decides, or big players in the market decide otherwise, I don't see a ceiling for any coin, right? I don't try not to frame it, try to frame it in those type of terms. So is there anything we didn't cover, SJ? I feel like I wanted to go over, I mean, in the previous streams, I went over the different pros and cons and all of this stuff, but I think, is there anything that the community has been thinking about or talking about as far as this goes, or, losing faith or staying strong or otherwise that we didn't cover, do you think is important?
I think we got a lot of it, to be honest with you. And a lot of the things that maybe we didn't touch on are just some of the same things that have been going on, and people have been crying about or wondering about forever, when Richard pumped my bags, and, having expectations, and just, being too, what's the word? Again, I'm gonna hit on this one more time, because I really truly believe that what we need to do, and I'd love some suggestions, because if you think about what Richard did with his outrage marketing, a lot of that was to garner and gain the attention of people outside of our ecosystem. How do we do that better? How do we get outside of this echo chamber and bring the world, bring mass adoption into PulseChain? How do we do that? Like I saw Matty Allen talking about driving his DeLorean out to, stream until Mr. Beast comes to talk to him. How do we do more things like that, right? How do we get millions of views on our streams and our streamers? Like who's going to come in? Who's out there right now that we don't know yet, that hasn't started creating content, that needs to, that's going to bring mass adoption to this space and is going to bring way more views than any of us ever could have? We need to work together. We need all hands on deck, and we really need to just continue to build each other up, because that's the only way that this is going to work. This is the community, Richard's greatest achievement, coming together to pump our own damn bags, y'all.
Yeah, I think green candles, again, it's been it's been the key in so many different ways. We have all the builders, we have all the economic energy we possibly have within the community.
Yeah.
We have the founder, we have, you know, the motivation, we have the skin in the game, we have everything we need. The green candles come. I don't think people realize how crazy it can get. What it's been in the past. Man, you know, we got Donovan, you know, we got BitBoy, we got, you know, Martini guy. Shout out to my Martini guy. He was an HEX guy. I don't know. I hope you still like HEX and stuff, even through maybe, I don't know if you swapped into PX or not, but we got a few people with a, you know, much larger following who are outside of our own community in one way or another, or just, you know, kind of stepped a foot in. And, you know, we'll see. We hope we adopt everyone who's bringing positive energy and stuff to here. But there's so many people who haven't. And I think they are just waiting on, because there's no other reason not to, right? We are there. This is not like some echo chamber thing. Like, what we're doing here is the biggest story in crypto. It's just that nobody cares enough about it because they haven't seen the prices go up enough for them to actually get into it and start talking about it. They don't see there's too much uncertainty for them to benefit from talking about it right now. But once they see consistently, if they see consistently green candles up, and they see all the products, and we continue to put out a good image, a welcoming image for people to come in and have a good time and win with us too. I think, again, it's hard to even see what can happen, and it's happened to many of other communities over time. It happened to HEX before. We're just much bigger and much more powerful now. And I think, I hope you all are ready. I hope we get what we're looking for, and I hope you're all ready for it. I'll say that. Mic drop. Boom.
Bam.
All right. SJ, where can people find out more about you, your work, and all the time, energy, and effort you put into this ecosystem? We'll always appreciate that.
Oh, well, shucks. Right now, PulseChainTour.com. That is that's where I live. I live all over the PulseChain Tour. We're coming to Utah on April 13th, and then Canada. We're going to Vancouver on May 4th. I am heartbroken, Max, that we don't get to hang out, but hey, maybe next time.
I know. It's I thought that I was mentioned on Twitter, I was able to make the original date, but yeah, I've got some stuff going on in May, so I won't be able to make that one. But hopefully, yeah, you guys will come back around this area in some way, one way or another, and
hey,
we'll get to have a good meetup.
There's an NFT you can buy to make that happen. It's not out yet.
Just buy enough NFTs, they'll come. Like, can I like vote? Can I use? Is there a DAO I can vote which cities to come to with the NFT? That actually would be like real world change based on a ticketing system with like concert tickets and stuff we talked about. That's actually an interesting use case for NFTs.
Yeah.
You know, Monkey.
And then also just I'm at AWildSJ on all the socials. Check it out.
Yes, WildSJ, PulseChainTour.com. The reader of the Scivive audiobook. There's PulseChain Tour NFTs. SJ puts out a ton of work, and is really one of the most valuable members of this community. And I hope she knows that. You're doing great.
Thank you.
I think it's one of those things you don't. I don't think anyone really. It's like no one appreciates anyone a lot until they need them, or something goes wrong and they solve a problem, or they see them go out of their way to like make something better. It's like these little, it's like this, things kind of catch fire in different ways. But day to day, I mean, people are putting in a lot of work, and it just, we want those people to get rewarded as much as possible. If you put in the work, if you're into HEX, PulseChain, whatever, you're building stuff, you're creating stuff, you're making good products, and you're putting time and energy out there, no expectations that anyone's going to like say thanks or anything to you. But I hope as much as possible the people putting in the work, and if people recognize that, society rewards you for providing value. So I hope everyone out there providing value, you're getting rewarded. Again, it's almost like the pay it forward, but don't count sort of type of thing. Like I try not to have expectations. People appreciate things I do or otherwise, but so I don't want to count. I don't think that sort of thing. But I hope in the end it all accumulates into something that is glory for the ecosystem. I think that's what I hope we all can contribute towards.
Heck yeah. Well said.
So Good to see you again, SJ. And I think, yeah, excellent stream. Appreciate you coming. And
always a pleasure.
I know. It's always Hexco, always a good time in Hexco, and everyone else out there. Appreciate you all joining, and hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Scivive and 5555. We are out.